avoiding bootstrappers. Now, let me tell you about this crazy experience. And keep in mind from this story, not every contract is a good contract, even if it's coming from someone who's corporate. So look out. Let me tell you about this crazy experience I went through. So I was so on cloud nine. I had just completed this service of staffing for an amazing, reputable carnival association that I've actually remember from a small child attending their annual events in my hometown. So when I got the opportunity to service them, I was so elated, I was grateful. Plus, that day, my staff was publicated alongside them on the local news. So that was so cool. So after that event, I would say like a week passed, and I decided to post the visuals up of how it went on my end with my staff, and of course, shouting out the client and that kind of thing. And I would say a couple days later, I got a random message from someone that I didn't recognize, but they had a great profile presentation, and they gave me a little inquiry that was kind of like short and to the point in order to get me to call them. So they let me know that they noticed I was a sponsor for the Carnival Association, and they also were a sponsor themselves. So I was just like, wow, this is so cool. They basically gave me kudos on what I did and mentioned that they also wanted staff as well. So in this particular instance, the gentleman wanted 30 staff for 3 months. And I was so elated because this was gonna be like a big deal. The more staff, of course, the more bucks. It's a lot behind the scenes, but this is what I love to do. I decided to arrange a Zoom call to get things started. In addition, I decided that this is gonna be the biggest deal I ever got. So I decided to include my investor slash mentor best friend that I had at the time to join me on this deal. I wanted to introduce him as a partner working alongside me. And also I wanted to kind of level the playing field. I wanted this client to know that I'm not just a woman. I have this male partner presence there as well, and we can get straight to business. My partner was on the Zoom call, so was I, and the client, and he also introduced a new gentleman on the line that was his partner. And in the introduction, he mentioned that the partner that he had for his company he actually was a VP at a really big national delivery company, and he just left them and is now partnering with him. So he let me know himself and his partner just started a new delivery company, and they essentially wanted to have staff in different retail stores and supermarkets that made this agreement in advance to have this delivery service catered to their customers. So I was ready to go. The Zoom call, everybody kind of like went over their background, including myself, including my partner, mentioning his other business ventures, including him helping me partner for the marketing on this. They let me know, great. We went back and forth. I gave him a specific quote. And he mentioned like, look, I'm a little nervous because I was working with a last, marketing company before, and the staff, I didn't feel like they sold what they needed to sell. So, I don't want to have a reason not to pay you. So when I heard that, I kind of like took that as a red flag. But because he was serious in other movements, I said, you know what, I'm going to consider that, but I'm going to move forward. So I gave him, I told him, I said, look, being this is the first time working with me, how about we contract for 1 week with staff? We execute, and then you watch the numbers and see how the sales come in. If you like what's happening, then we'll just continue and do it by week or month basis from there. That way you can backtrack your sales, and I could also guarantee my work as well. So I thought it was a match made in heaven. Like, what actually ended up happening was, I would say I gave him a contract for that week of quoted services to start. Let's say I gave it to him on a Friday. So I expected Monday morning to come and for me to wake up and for me to see this deal contract signed, ready to go. And Monday came and it wasn't. So I kind of like had to sit back and say, okay, let me retrace my steps. I did reach out to him and say, hey, but he threw a curveball at me, guys. He just said, hey, let me put a pin in that inquiry about the staffing. And I noticed that your partner does investing. I want to have a conversation with him about something. It's very important. And then I'll get back to you on the marketing. So I thought this was so odd, because he reached out to me for staffing, and I didn't know what my partner in investing had to do with any of this. But The good thing is I had a great friendship with my partner slash investor mentor. So he was telling me all the deets behind the scenes, okay? So first things first, he let me know the guy said he wants to chat. They arranged to chat. He had the chat. After the chat, he called me and told me what was on the chat, okay? So after the call, he basically told me either this guy is an idiot or he think I am. And I was like, please let me know what happened. This freaking guy tells my investor slash friend slash mentor slash partner for this particular deal that he wants him to help him acquire and purchase a company, a total different entity, a total different company, different concepts, services, and all. He wants him to basically be his Santa Claus. You know what I mean? And for me, I don't know. I'm always grateful and humble. Like, I believe Santa can only give you what he can carry, okay? And I just felt like when I heard that, this guy was reaching. Like, I didn't know what was happening, but I decided to listen on and see what else he said. He basically started off, and that's one thing I love about my investor friend. He taught me a lot on how to like cycle sort through situations, what people said. Well, first things first, what I did notice is that this client told me when he first came to me was that, yeah, he just spent like $3 million on some trucks, and I'm talking like dumpster truck size. And, you know, that allowed him to, not the dumpster truck, I'm just giving you an example of the volume and using dumpster truck as an example. But I think they were like box trucks, like 22 footers type of thing. And that would be the vehicles that he would use to do the delivery services. So after hearing the conversation with my investor, and he was like, look, the guy telling me he want me to buy this business for him, fully funded. So he decided to ask him a few questions like, okay, with the delivery company that you have that you inquired about to Ava, pre-COVID, you know, how much money did you make at the end of the year? The gentleman said, $0, y'all, $0. He also asked him, how much money did your business make during COVID? You would think maybe, you know, you make a few thousand, and when COVID happened, the shutdown for the pandemic, that there will be a cut in sales. He mentioned $0. So even at the beginning of the year before COVID, he made no money. He was lying. And then my investor friend told him like he wasn't gonna do it. It was just so weird. He's just here trying to help me do this deal. He expected him to follow up the verbiage and just do that. But the fact that he had the audacity to go to my friend, investor slash partner, to ask him to just say, give me money to this other project was bonkers. It's kind of ghetto if you ask me. And now I'm starting to look at this client in another light. Like, wow, like he got a VP partner from a really reputable national brand. He's also corporate himself, Black excellence, you know? For Christ's sake, when he Zoom called me, he was in the backyard of his home. I'm talking a house. He had his baby, pardon me, guys, you know, putting the baby to the side. So I'm looking at this guy like, wow, I no longer see him as a family man. He had just, you know, with a business cause, and we're here to make this a business marriage, a win-win for everybody. I'm starting to look at him like now I'm starting to feel like he's fishing, like he's a little desperate here. So I decided to play along and not disclose to the client what I knew from my friend. My friend was just like, you know what, Ava? This guy is not gonna sign. I think he's taking us for a joke. And honestly, it looked like he's bootstrapping. So for those of you who don't know what bootstrapping is, it could be really technical, but in this situation, I would say bootstrapping is like if the bank won't give you money or capital to fund and start or launch your business, the owner or entity that's driving that business would look for other individuals or like independent business owners and try to get them to get free services, free product, or even capital for that. But at the end of the day, the gentleman in this case, he wanted to fish for as much as he can. And from now I'm seeing the whole picture. It looked like he just wanted to get whatever he could free, staffing services in particular for 3 months, and then get sales off of that for the delivery service, and actually try to weasel a way out not to pay. So after the conversation with my investor friend slash partner, I decided to figure out, okay, let me reach out to this client and say, hey, let's resume the conversation with the marketing staffing inquiry. Let's continue from here. And when I did, the gentleman basically changed his mind. He never signed the contract. He basically didn't even give me an answer that he's not gonna do it right now. He just backed out completely. So I just kind of tapped into my network and let everybody know, look, the gig is canceled or what have you, but don't worry, there's tons of other gigs coming. So for me, thank God I have my own loyalty that I built with my staff, because I'm the type that I was able to pay staff, and I will pay my staff before I pay myself, before I eat. And because of that experience with them, I guess that's why they were always rolling with the punches with me. If a client is ready to go and then they cancel, they're waiting for the next one. So being a good person, having integrity, and being honest does matter. It really comes out in the long run. It's very fruitful. But once I realized that this gentleman wasn't going to do a deal, I just took a back seat on this, like, on to the next. And honestly, I dodged the bullet. Because imagine if I would have had 30 people working for 3 months and this client would have weaseled out not paying or looking for a reason not to pay anything. By law, I'm on the hook to pay these people. Remember, anybody doing labor, any type of staffing, where any staff work period where you're out there doing hourly work, once your body is out there working, whoever, like me, owes you that money for your earnings, even if things didn't go good with the client. That's just the nature of the business, and that's just a lot of things one of the things that a lot of business owners go through, where you're, making and negotiating these deals, you're ready to go, ready to spearhead, and then people change their mind. What does that look like for the little guy? They're not supposed to know. They're not supposed to see that. They're supposed to only get paid what they're hourly contracted to do. So I had to do what I had to do. Thank God they didn't come out. So when it came to this client in particular, he let me know he wasn't going to do the marketing and the staffing. I backed off. And then lastly, I would say like 2 days go by. Now, mind you guys, I was affected by this. Like, I thought this was going to be a big deal based on the numbers, how many people involved and needed. This is going to be the biggest deal I ever had in my life. So I was really banking on this, guys. And the fact that it didn't happen, it really hurt. Forget my ego. Like, it really hurt. I was really, really waiting on that. But it didn't happen. That was okay. But I realized I had my people. I got my staff. That's all I need to get another client. 2 days later, I go about my business. I randomly get a message from the client. Like, magically, he's available. And he's like, hey, I just realized that we actually conversed before on social media. And I'm like, wow, we did? I asked him to give me his name, and I couldn't believe it was the same page. So I go to my DM, and thank gosh for DMs, you're able to see like the history of all the messages from day one. I look back and I see this gentleman's dialogue, and I look and it looked like he's like trying to holler at me like, hey, beautiful. I think this is like a year or two before. What a coincidence. But he reached out in a DM like, hey, beautiful, how was your day? And I'm like, thanks. But for me, I'm very guarded. I'm not going to just I'm not lonely and I don't need a pen pal. Like, to me, I don't find to take someone serious that's trying to holler at you in DM and social media. Like, it's just not appropriate. And you have a phone, you're using your phone that has a number to use an app on the device to call you. Like, what does that say about how he really feels about you? So for me, I didn't take that serious. And honestly, when he dialogued, I thought he was a little bit slow. Like, he didn't really know what to say, like, hey, how you do? And that was it. So I didn't even know he was even trying to holler, with the exception of him calling me beautiful. But I went back to the message with him in the dialogue since he brought this up. And I'm like, hey, wow, I did see the message. I didn't realize that was you. But he tried to make it seem like, yeah, I tried to say something nice and you disrespected me. And I went back to fact check the DM, and I'm like, Papa, according to the messages, there was no disrespect. It's just that you came off a little bit weird, and I didn't understand that, and I told you to take care. Good luck. And he's like, oh, okay. So at the end of the day, he ended up backing out. What's the takeaway from this situation? Watch out for people coming to you to pretend to do a contract or do a deal or get services from you or even get products from you, for that matter. And at the end of the day, they're really not serious in doing that. Instead, they're interested in having multiple conversations to fish what resources if you have, what else they can get out of the situation. And in my case, first the client tried to do marketing services with me by conversing with me. He put a pause in that. He realized that the partner also did investing and wanted to have him buy him a business and go from there with no contingencies to that. And then lastly, when that didn't work, he tried to holler at me and reference that conversation as if that would reignite something to get business started. At the end of the day, all three scenarios, trash. I wasn't having it, okay? So I would say from this experience, be sure to look out for proper and professional buying signals. Buying signals are people that have that Zoom call with you, the conversation where they're letting you know their project details, they're discussing the need, they understand what your services are and how you guys can help each other. And once that's established, you guys talk about fee and it's time to sign contract. If they're playing games and dragging their feet to do a contract, if they're trying to say, before I sign, I need to talk to Peter, Paul, and everybody on your team, they're not serious. So those are absolute buying signals for me. Like, if someone is not fully going through the way they should to check out, then you should check out your time. Don't even invest any further time with it. So I would suggest anybody who doesn't follow the proper professional protocol to check out, meaning signing a contract, and do whatever steps necessary that you require to start the business services. If they're not following up or following through with the correct buying signals to check out, then check out with your time. Don't invest any further time. Otherwise, you're gonna be on a social turmoil and a roller coaster that you didn't expect to do. It's gonna hold you up on time. You're gonna go through, in my case, I went through a mental depression because I went through this, it didn't happen, and I beat myself up. I really kind of internalized, like, what did I do wrong, or what could I have said different to actually make him check out and sign that contract and for me to start and show him what I could do. And when I look back, it didn't matter. His goals was he was looking for somebody to give him some free staff so he can get some sales and make a reason to weasel out and not pay. Thank God I approached the situation with a partner, because if I hadn't, I would have got swallowed up by myself, being nice, using my feminine divine energy, caring. If I didn't have that male partner presence with me, I would have got chewed away. So I hope this is a great lesson for you guys. I really want you to take my experience as a guide for your professional journey. So at the end of the day, stay on the qui-vive.